The Live Financially Savvy podcast was created by Atia, the savvy accountant. She is a CPA, CA, and certified financial educator instructor. She has a passion for building generational wealth and wants to help you and others to do the same. She's created the podcast to help others live financially savvy, lower your debt, and build your net worth using techniques you learned here from others doing amazing things to live financially savvy.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Live Financially Savvy podcast. I'm your host, Atia, aka the Savvy Accountant, and today I'm going to be talking with a fellow accountant. So I'm going to be talking to Pam, the CPA, and today we're going to talk about business structures, taxes, some tax changes that happened with the tax reform. And so we're just going to give information to small businesses starting out, some of the stuff that she does with her clients. And so she's just going to give some information to help you guys. And so with over 13 years in accounting and auditing profession, Pam has worked with one of the biggest accounting firms in the world, various Fortune 500 companies, and public universities. In 2014, Pam started Viking CPA Group. Taking what she learned while working for these major companies, she empowers small businesses and teaches them how to run and sustain a profitable business while mitigating their business risk and optimizing their growth. She also teaches accounting to students at Kennesaw State University in Georgia, holding her undergraduate and graduate degrees from Michigan State University and a certified public accountant license. Pam is well-versed in consulting, auditing, tax, and accounting. Pam has a passion for business and a bigger passion for helping people. So this is reflected in her personal brand for knowledge and sharing, empowerment, and coaching. So without further ado, we're going to get started on the interview with Pam the CPA. So good night, Pam. Thank you so much for joining and being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So I read your bio, but I like my guests to start off and introduce themselves so that the audience can hear about them in their own words. So if you can just tell us about yourself in your own words, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So my name is Pam Balentine. I am a CPA originally from Flint, Michigan. Right now I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and I specialize in small business accounting, tax, and consulting. I love all things business, all things entrepreneurs, and all things accounting, which most entrepreneurs don't love. So that's why they need me.
So I definitely can relate. And so actually you started your own business a couple years ago. So what is your business and what do you do? What do you specialize in?
Yep. So the name of my business is Viking CPA Group, and I do small business accounting and taxes. And I am about to start a virtual CFO service as well. So pretty much just all the accounting, consulting, strategic needs that all business owners require, but without having to hire a full-blown CFO, because that can get pretty pricey. But the type of information that you get from a CFO and from a CPA is necessary for all business owners.
I definitely can agree. And so taxes, that's like a big topic right now, especially with the new government and the tax reform that's happened. So can you touch on some of the changes that happen and how it's affecting your clients, especially small business owners?
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of my clients are an LLC or an SCorp. And for those listeners out there, those are entity types. However, they flow through to the individual tax level. So they'll flow through to their personal returns. So a lot of the tax changes on the personal level will also impact my business clients. So one of them being the new tax rates. So tax rates changed all across the board. They decreased actually by a few percentage points, which is pretty substantial and relevant if you make a lot of money. So even if you don't have a business and you're on a W-2 paying job, you'll start seeing more money in your paycheck and less tax liability based on income with the new tax rate. So that's one benefit that my clients see and that pretty much anyone who works will start seeing right away. A couple other changes that happened. One is the increase of the standard deduction. So typically the standard deduction, each person can, or if you file single, that's about, I don't know, off the top of my head, tax season just wrapped up. You know how when you take an exam and you
forget everything.
get rid of everything. Yeah. That happened to me last week and it's slowly coming back to me. But, a single person will have a standard deduction of about $6,000. But now with the new tax law, it's pretty much double. So it's $12,000. So that's a huge impact that everyone will start seeing as well. So that's that. And then on the business side, if it's a C Corp or a corporation, their tax rates pretty much are a flat fee now at 21%. It used to vary between 15 to 35%. So those small business owners who are at the 15% level, they're going to see a huge increase in their taxes because now it's at a flat 21%, regardless of, revenue or anything like that. But the huge companies that we all know and shop at, so like Macy's, Walmart, all those companies who would be taxed at the maximum rate of 35%, they're going to start seeing huge tax cuts because now it's at the flat 21% rate. So I'm curious to see how that will work and the impact that my clients will have based on their 2018 revenue.
Yeah. And that's like a big difference.
Yeah.
And so based on the changes, so these are going to take place in 2018. So are there any, like, I'm sure your clients have been asking questions now. So what kind of strategy are you telling them that they can probably go into trying to save on their taxes?
So for my business clients, the strategy doesn't really change that much. I just make sure that they document every single thing, money coming in, money going out, because those deductions, some have changed with the new tax laws. A lot of them didn't, but they will play a huge impact on making sure that their tax liability is as low as possible. Another strategy is having a self-employed benefit plan or pension or 401k or something you're contributing to where you can write off as well. So just that's a lot of the strategy that we're doing. We're also looking into whether we're going to purchase equipment or lease equipment, things like that. It varies per industry, per business, and then based on the goal that you want to have. Personally, you need a CPA to kind of walk you through that type of stuff, because if you're a business owner, of course you don't want to pay a lot of taxes, so you write things off, right? And your business does not look as profitable. However, if you want to buy a house personally in the next year or two, you need to think through that tax strategy because they're going to ask for your tax returns. And if you're writing everything off, yeah, if you're writing everything off to avoid taxes, great. But now you look like you are not a solvent business. Yeah. So, it's really tax strategy for the next couple of years when you think of it like that.
And so you touched a little bit upon before when you're an LLC or an SCorp and how that flows through your personal. So can you talk a little bit about the double taxation? I'm not sure if a lot of people starting like side hustles understand the whole double taxation, and depending on if they do SCorp versus CCorp.
Yeah. One of the cons of a C Corp is the double taxation. So the money that you make as a corporation is taxed at that flat 21% that we just talked about. Then whenever you pay yourself or you distribute dividends to the owners or however you distribute the earnings, then that money is taxed again. So that same dollar is getting taxed 2 times. So that's the double taxation for C Corps. Contrary to that, we have the LLC and the S Corp to where it's not taxed at a company level. So whatever money you earn, whatever profit you have in the business, it will flow through to your personal return and then taxed at whatever your personal tax bracket is. So it's only taxed one time at your personal tax rate versus a C Corp, which has that double taxation.
Awesome. And so, yeah, that explained it very easily in layman terms.
Awesome.
And so is there a point where you tell your clients that they should probably start off as an S-corp until they see like a certain level of earnings so that it's beneficial for them tax-wise? Because that double taxation, when people are doing this for a side hustle, chances are they're taking these withdrawals
Right,
for
right.
themselves.
I have yet to run into a situation where I would encourage anyone to transfer to a C Corp. Not saying that I won't, because, I'm praying for those huge clients, but I think it's a matter of revenue for one. And then if you want to start trading stock and shares and what type of shares you want to do, I think that's when we would start talking about C Corp and things like that. Um, I think an S corp is pretty sufficient for, even if you do switch from a small business to a medium or mid-sized business. There's tons of S corps out there at that level as well. It's a little less complicated. Your accounting is a little bit more simple, but it still is a business. You're still
Yeah,
in the business of making money. So that's really what it's all about.
I agree. And you touched a little bit upon retirement accounts before. And so I recently found out about the SEP accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So do you know a little bit about that you can talk about a little bit, just for the listeners who are starting side hustles? I think it's it's a great opportunity for them to start hitting into the retirement. Because I mean, you start a side hustle, you start a side business because you want it to help you get to your retirement earlier. I'm assuming. And
Mm-hmm.
these SEP funds are pretty awesome.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome. So your self-employment retirement account is what we're talking about now. And if it's a side hustle and you're still working full time, I would definitely say stick with your company's 401k, because they're matching and all this other stuff. So that's great extra money. But if you are a full-time entrepreneur, you still need to start setting money aside, because even though it's your baby and it's your business, no one wants to work forever. So setting that money aside for retirement, and then also as a tax write-off. If you have employees, you definitely want to talk to a financial planner about that. I am not a financial planner about setting up 401k accounts, but if you have employees, you definitely want to talk to someone, because what I recently found is, if you have this small business or self-employed retirement account, however much you contribute for yourself, you also have to contribute for your employees, and that can get very, very expensive. So you want to make sure you are selecting the right plans if it's just you versus you having employees as well.
No, that's a great point.
Yeah. So I'm not too well versed in them. I know that you can use them for, saving money, having assets, and for tax write-offs. But as far as which plan to choose and all the potential earnings, you definitely want to go to a financial advisor or planner for that.
That makes sense. So it's Viking Accounting Services, and you said you guys are going to be offering virtual CFO services. So what would that entail?
Yep. So it would be the bookkeeping and the accounting. So just keeping track of your income, your expenses, the accounting. I don't want to get too technical, but if you need adjusting entries for like depreciation or interest, and keeping up with things like that. It would be your monthly financials. So looking at your financial statements that a business owner should be looking at regularly. So of course your income statement or your profit and loss, and then your balance sheet. We'll also look at cash flow management, start looking at ratios and key performance indicators. You may hear the abbreviation KPIs, but looking at specific ratios and trends for your business, your industry, to make sure you're on track to be able to grow, to be able to scale, making key decisions and strategic consulting roles. It encumbers a lot of things that business owners need, but they don't know they need it, or they may know they need it and think they can't afford it.
Yeah, and I definitely think that it's something that a lot of businesses think, because you need to know what your numbers are saying.
Absolutely. And the numbers tell a story. And just getting a report and looking at it as a non-financial person, you don't know what that story is saying.
Yeah.
And that's what the virtual CFO service will provide, is telling your story so you can understand it, so you can write the whole book. You can make the decisions you want to make for your business. Like, should I buy this equipment or should I lease it? Should I change vendors for my inventory? Is my inventory accurate? Is the mix proper? And are my processes correct? Because a lot of people don't understand that the process of your organization and how your business is ran also affects your financials, and kind of linking those two together. I'm a process girl. I love processes. My background is in internal audit. So we did financial and operational things, and I was able to, tie and marry the two together. So that's what I'm hoping to provide with this service that I roll out.
And so do clients come to you before they've become an LLC, before they've made it legitimized, and ask you if it's better to just keep doing it as a side job, and because they get deductions for working from their house, like working out of their house?
Yeah, I do get a few people that are side hustling and wanting to know what they should do. Like, should I incorporate? Should I keep it a side hustle? Questions like that. My answer is different for each person, and whether you should incorporate it or not is more so of a legal issue or a legal question. As far as the tax deductions, if it's not incorporated or not, it can be treated the same, very small differences, but not a lot. So tax purposes, whether it's you as a sole proprietor or you have an LLC, I would need all the same information, either or. But I also ask, what is your long-term plan? Because you have to start with the end in mind. And are you high risk to be sued? Because if you answer yes, then I would say incorporate.
Yeah.
Because that's, that liability there.
And so what are some of the deductions that you can tell your clients to look for, so that they keep an eye on it, so that they know that they actually have these deductions that are available to them when they start their side businesses, whether it be sole proprietor or whether they be incorporated?
Mm-hmm. So it's funny because a lot of new business owners or side hustlers, they, track the big things that they buy. So depending on what your business is, things that you spend on the actual business, they do a pretty good job of tracking. A lot of things that people tend to forget, their cell phone usage. It's not just for personal anymore. You can write at least half of that off, or whatever percentage you use for the business. um, your home office. If you have a designated space just for working, you can write off, a portion of your rents, of your internet, your power, utilities, things like that. We can prorate and write some of that off. Mileage is a huge one. You get about 54 cents per mile. If you drive to the store to buy some paper to print on for your business, that's mileage for your business. So a lot of people don't track their mileage. And that can be a huge deduction. I had a client get about $6,000 deduction just on mileage alone.
Mileage is huge.
Yeah.
They have
It's
apps for it now.
They do. Just have a car charger, because those apps drain your battery. But yeah, I think those are huge ones. Of course, any supplies that you buy for the business, for your office, any memberships or subscriptions, I should say, any networking events that you go to try to find clients, things like that. Meals and entertainment. If you sit down and you talk about the business, you definitely want to keep track of that. Meals and entertainment is one deduction that's changing with the new tax law.
I was just about to mention. So
Yeah.
I know that percent is changing.
Yeah. So now it's like entertainment is not included at all.
Okay.
Or something like that. They're still changing that one because it is not as clear. How do you define what's meals and entertainment if you're sitting down and eating at like a baseball game, or something like that that's real popular, that people go to? How do you define the two or differentiate the two. So I think they're still working on that one, but still write it down. You don't know what the tax law will be by the time it's time to
Exactly.
file 2018 taxes. So keep track of everything.
Yep, because you never know what they're going to change. And I
Mhm.
actually was reading this article about if you're throwing, let's say it was a Super Bowl party, and if you created flyers and then you have a speech about your business and you pitch your business at the Super Bowl party, that you can deduct your expenses for the Super Bowl party.
Yeah, so stuff like that is what they're trying to avoid. But
Yeah.
historically, yes, if it's your business and you're pitching business, you have potential clients there, even though it is entertainment purposes, it's still with a business idea in mind. And for things like that, meals is usually a 50% deduction. But if you bring it into your workplace or an event like you just mentioned, that would be 100%. So I think those are things that they're trying to refine and kind of say, oh no, you're just really having fun. But business can be fun. So I don't
Business can be
know.
fun.
Yeah. and we want to make it as fun as possible to attract clients. So
Exactly.
I don't know where they're going to go with that. And I'll keep my ears open.
Yeah, hopefully they allow it.
Yeah, I know, right?
And so what do you think from the new tax laws that that are went into effect? What do you think the biggest change was that's going to affect like small businesses besides like the
Mhm.
tax rate and the standard deduction?
Mm-hmm. So there's a small business deduction that they also incorporated into the tax law with the new changes. And the purpose of it is to grant additional deductions and expenses for flow through entities. So, like the LLC, the SCorps, just because they did lower the corporate tax rate down to 21%. And then these flow through entities are being taxed at your personal rate, which can be up to 37%. So, that's still a huge difference. So, to kind of level out the playing field, they're offering an additional 20% deduction for those flow through entities. So that's a big thing. Um, there are exclusions, exceptions, as everything is in the tax law. And I, I just read something today that they're trying to eliminate those exclusions because, again, it's not as clear as you want it to be to see if you qualify for that extra 20% deduction. So
Yeah.
I'm going to keep my ears open on that too. But for a lot of flow through entities, it'll be an additional 20% deduction. And that I think that's helpful. But again, with all the exclusions, the phase out, the thresholds, it can get very complicated.
Yeah. And it's very open to interpretation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so is there anything else tax-wise that you think that the listeners should be aware of if they're working on their side hustles, they're working on incorporation, like incorporating their side business so that it becomes legitimate? Is there any
Hmm.
things that they need to look out for?
One thing that I see side hustlers, you have this business and that's great, and they get real frustrated with tracking everything, but it's really important when you're starting up and not to get discouraged if you're showing a loss in the first year. That's normal, and it's actually helpful for you not to have to pay taxes at that time. So that's one thing that I tell a lot of new business owners, especially if you're still working full time. Like, you're already paying taxes through
Yeah.
that employer and through that job. So don't worry about that. Just get whatever you need for the business up and running, to where if your goal is to go full time, you can have, that tax plan. And definitely hire someone to help you with your taxes once you start having a business, because they can advise you, oh, well, you can change your exemptions at work since you have this loss in this business, so then you'll have more money in your pocket. That's one thing that I talk to a lot of my clients about that work full time. They have a side hustle that's showing a loss. You can change your exemptions at work. get less money taken out of your out of your paycheck, so you have more money to fund your business with. Because if your business is showing a loss, that's going to help take down your tax liability. Don't worry about that paycheck not covering the taxes, so things like that is important, because you need that extra money to help fund your side hustle. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I think this is very informative and just giving a lot of background into taxes and the whole virtual CFO services. I think a lot of people starting up businesses, they don't realize how important the numbers are, and that the numbers can actually make or break you continuing forward.
Right. Yeah. And to be clear, a lot of smaller businesses or newer business may not need that level of the virtual CFO. They may not have big decisions to make at that point, but you definitely do want to hire a bookkeeper, an accountant, a CPA, depending on where you are in your business, to help you with those numbers. What I found, people go into business to do what they love, and accounting is not one of them. So you definitely want, like you said, the numbers in the business are everything. So you just want to know what they mean and what they're
Exactly.
showing.
And I think at no matter what level, you need to have the organization. So if you know that you can't organize it yourself, you probably need to get somebody to help you. And I think just knowing that is like a great first step.
Exactly. They say whenever you open a business, you need a banker, a CPA, and an attorney. And I definitely agree with that.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything that you want to share with the audience? Do you have like anything going on that they can connect with you? I'm going to put your information in the show notes so they can connect with you regardless, but is there anything that they should look out for?
It's a couple things that I'm working on. I'm going to be working on an online course for QuickBooks. So if you're at a place where you think you can do it yourself, but you don't know where to start and you don't want to hire someone full time, that's what that course will kind of entail.
Okay.
Definitely for like the side hustlers, the very new entrepreneurs, that's who that focus will be on. Hopefully I'll have that done by the summer. And I said it out loud. This will be broadcasted, so that is my accountability.
Yeah, your accountability right now.
Exactly. So yeah, that's one thing I'm gonna work on. So if people follow me on social media or just reach out to me via email to get added to my email list or what have you, I'll definitely be announcing anything else that's coming up.
Awesome. So thank you so much for being on. I appreciate you sharing your gems on taxes and accounting. And I really
no problem. I appreciate you having me. It was fun.
No problem. It was fun. I love taxes. I mean, I'm an accountant too. So this was fun for me.
we can have fun amongst ourselves with these types of conversations.
So thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
So I do like to end by asking all my guests what Live Financially Savvy means to them. And so can you tell me in your own words what Live Financially Savvy means to you?
Yeah. So we kind of talked about it all throughout today. Knowing your numbers. So whether you are a business owner or not, definitely in your personal life, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. But just knowing your numbers, knowing what they mean to you, and having a budget and sticking to it.
Awesome. So yeah, I definitely believe that knowing your numbers is important. So thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
So I want to thank you for listening to the Live Financially Savvy podcast. You can hear the episode at livefinanciallysavvy.com, and you can get all the show notes at livefinanciallysavvy.com. You can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook at Live Financially Savvy, and let us know what you think. Please like, comment, and share, and rate and download wherever you listen to your podcast. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.